I'm Terry. Sitting alone in my apartment, surrounded by commendations and the highest security clearance, I often reflect on that fateful day. The silence is only broken by the ticking of the clock, a constant reminder of the events that unfolded and changed my life forever. It was a day like any other in the courtroom. I sat as a witness for the prosecution, while my family, my dad, Arthur, my mom, Evelyn, my older brother Liam, and his business partner, Oscar, sat on the defense side, looking bewildered and enraged. The prosecution presented damning evidence, access logs showing the unauthorized login, transaction records proving the theft, and recordings of our phone conversations where they admitted to taking the money. I remembered how my mom, Evelyn, was sobbing uncontrollably, and my dad, Arthur, looked as if he had aged 10 years overnight. Liam glared at me with pure hatred in his eyes. The defense tried to argue that it was just a family loan and a misunderstanding, with no criminal intent. But the judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Harper, was unmoved. These defendants accessed a classified federal account, Judge Harper said sternly. They withdrew operational funds from an ongoing investigation and distributed them for personal investment purposes. This is not borrowing, it's theft and unauthorized access to federal systems. This kind of behavior undermines our financial security infrastructure. Dad's lawyer tried to defend them. Your Honor, my clients genuinely believe this was the defendant's personal savings account. They had no idea. Judge Harper interrupted, they knew he worked for the Treasury Department. They knew they were accessing his financial accounts without permission. They made assumptions based on greed, not on reasonable inquiry. This is willful ignorance. The lawyer then tried to blame my own security failure, saying that leaving credentials in a notebook contributed to the situation. The judge agreed that I'd made a mistake, but she also pointed out that it didn't give others the right to exploit it. Just because you find someone's house key on the ground doesn't mean you can enter their house and take their belongings. And these are family members. They exploited the trust within the family for personal gain, which makes it an aggravating factor, not a mitigating one. The defense had no response. Bail was set at $100,000 each, and my family couldn't afford it. They were sent to federal detention pending trial. As I walked out of the courthouse, Liam's lawyer approached me. Dr. Terry, my client would like to talk to you about a possible resolution. I replied firmly, there's nothing to resolve. Your client committed federal crimes and will face federal consequences. He's your brother, the lawyer pleaded. He's a criminal who stole from classified federal accounts. Being my brother doesn't change that fact. The lawyer continued, he's willing to cooperate, provide information about how he intended to use the funds, return all remaining money, and testify against the others if necessary. He's terrified of the 20-year sentence he's facing. I stood my ground. He should be. He made choices, bad ones. He needs to understand that actions have consequences, and federal crimes carry federal penalties. I'm actually helping him learn these valuable lessons. The lawyer looked at me in disgust. You're going to destroy your entire family. I said calmly, they destroyed themselves. I'm just following the law. To understand how we got to this point, I have to take you back to my family background. I come from a family where money has always been a complicated issue. My dad, Arthur, is a self-proclaimed entrepreneur. He's always looking for the next big business opportunity, but more often than not, his ventures end up failing. He has a habit of borrowing money from friends, extended family, and business partners. He always promised to pay it back, but it usually took a lot of pressure to get him to do so. My mom, Evelyn, is overly supportive of my dad's schemes. She always says, your father is a visionary. He sees opportunities that others don't. This constant enabling has created a culture in our family where taking money from others without proper authorization is almost normalized. My older brother, Liam, is 36 years old and works in commercial real estate. He has inherited my dad's tendencies. He once borrowed from my college fund to invest in a luxury car rental business that went bankrupt. He also borrowed from our elderly grandmother, promising to pay her back from his upcoming big deal. But he never did. I, on the other hand, have always been responsible with money. For the past 4 years, I've worked as a senior financial security analyst with the United States Treasury Department's Office of Intelligence and Analysis. Most of my family didn't understand the real nature of my job. They thought I was just a number cruncher who stared at spreadsheets all day. My mom would tell relatives, "Terry has a government job. It's very technical, and we don't really understand it." My dad was more dismissive. "Terry works in an office in D.C., processing financial reports or something. Makes decent money, I guess, but nothing special." Liam was even more condescending. "Terry is a federal bean counter, probably makes $60,000 a year. Meanwhile, I just closed a $15 million property deal." What they didn't know was that my job involved much more. I held a top-secret/sensitive compartmented information clearance. I was part of a joint task force tracking terrorist financing networks, money laundering operations, and sanctions violations. I had direct access to Federal Reserve systems, international banking databases, and classified intelligence from multiple agencies. The so-called savings account that my family thought I barely used was actually a specialized Federal Reserve operational account. It contained approximately $2.5 million in operational funds for ongoing investigations, specifically for tracking Iranian cryptocurrency laundering operations. 6 months before the incident, during a family dinner, my mom asked about my financial planning. To deflect questions about why I wasn't buying a house or a new car, I mentioned having an account with healthy reserves. "How much?" Liam asked. "Enough," I replied, trying to avoid being specific. My mom pressed, "You should invest that, Terry. Talk to Liam about real estate opportunities." "I'm comfortable with my current financial situation," I said, which was true but incomplete. I should have been more careful, more vague. I should have remembered that my family had a problematic relationship with other people's money. One Wednesday morning, while I was in my office at the Treasury building, reviewing suspicious transaction reports from cryptocurrency exchanges, my phone buzzed with a security alert. Unauthorized access attempt. Federal Reserve account number 9876. Authenticate immediately. My blood turned cold. I quickly pulled up the secure terminal and entered my credentials. The access logs showed a successful login from an IP address in my parents' home in Virginia. Someone had accessed my operational account. I immediately locked the account and retrieved the full transaction history. There was one withdrawal of $85,000, transferred to an external bank account I didn't recognize. This wasn't just a simple theft, it was a federal crime with national security implications. I called my supervisor right away. "We have a breach. Someone accessed my operational account and withdrew $85,000. Jesus Christ, Terry. How?" My supervisor asked. "I don't know. The access came from my parents' IP address. I need to secure the account and start an investigation." "Do it, Terry. This is serious. That account is tied to classified operations." I spent the next hour securing systems, changing credentials, documenting the breach, and trying to figure out how someone had gotten my access information. Then my phone rang. It was my dad. "Terry, quick question. Is there a daily withdrawal limit on that savings account of yours?" My jaw clenched. "What did you do?" "Well, your mother and I needed some capital for an investment opportunity. It's time sensitive. We borrowed $85,000 from your account. Don't worry, we'll pay it back in 60 days when the deal closes." "You accessed my Federal Reserve account," I said, my voice deadly calm. "Federal Reserve?" "No, your savings account, the one you mentioned having money in." We found your login information in that notebook you left here last Christmas. The notebook. I remembered writing down a temporary password while troubleshooting a security issue during the holidays. I'd forgotten to destroy the page. Dad, that wasn't a regular savings account. That was a classified government operational account. There was a long silence on the other end. What? A Federal Reserve operational account used for classified financial investigations. You've just committed unauthorized access to federal banking systems and theft of government funds. Terry, don't be dramatic. It's your money. We just borrowed some. We'll pay it back. It's not my money. It's operational funds for a classified investigation. You've committed multiple federal crimes. Federal crimes? Terry, stop exaggerating. It's a family loan. We do this all the time. This is different. This is a felony. Multiple felonies. Unauthorized access to federal systems, theft of government property, and potentially compromising classified operations. My mom's voice came on the speaker. Terry, honey, you're being dramatic. We needed the money for Liam's real estate deal. It's a sure thing. We'll pay you back by next month. Liam's involved too? Of course, it's a family investment. Liam found this amazing property. How many people know you took this money? Just us, Liam, and his business partner, Oscar. Why? I put my head in my hands. 4 people knew about the unauthorized access to a classified federal account, and they had no idea of the severity of what they'd done. Mom, Dad, listen very carefully. That account you accessed is not my personal savings. It's a U.S. Treasury operational account with funds for classified investigations. What you've done is not borrowing, it's federal theft, unauthorized access to banking systems, and a potential compromise of national security operations. National security? Dad's voice wavered. Terry, what are you talking about? I'm a senior financial security analyst with the Treasury Department's Office of Intelligence and Analysis. I track terrorist financing and money laundering. That account contains operational funds for those investigations. You've just stolen money from an active federal operation. The line went silent. Then Mom asked in a small voice, what does that mean? It means I have to report this immediately. It means Treasury investigators will be involved. It means you'll likely face federal charges. You wouldn't report your own parents, Dad said, but there was uncertainty in his voice. I don't have a choice. This is a mandatory reporting situation. As soon as the account was breached, automatic flags went to multiple agencies. They already know, and I'm legally required to file a formal report within the hour. And because you're family, it's even worse. You had access to my personal information because of family trust and exploited it to commit federal crimes. We didn't know, Mom cried. I told you I work for the Treasury Department. I told you not to touch my financial information. You chose to ignore that because you wanted money. Liam's voice came on the line. Terry, come on. This is fixable. We'll return the money right now. No harm done. The harm is already done. You accessed classified federal systems, withdrew operational funds, and distributed them to multiple parties. This isn't like borrowing $20 from my wallet. Returning the money doesn't eliminate the crime. Liam insisted, this is different. We're family. No, Liam, it's not different. It's actually worse because you exploited family access to commit federal crimes. I could hear Mom crying in the background. Dad tried to sound reasonable. Surely there's a way to handle this quietly. You work for the government. Can't you just fix it? Make it go away. Make it go away? I repeated in disbelief. Dad, you breached a Federal Reserve account tied to classified operations. There are automatic security protocols. Multiple agencies have already been notified. I couldn't make this go away even if I wanted to, which I don't. I have to file my formal report. I suggest you contact a lawyer immediately, a good one who handles federal crimes. Terry, please, Dad pleaded. I hung up. My hands were shaking, not from anger but from the realization that my family had destroyed themselves through their own greed and stupidity. I opened my laptop and started typing the formal incident report, unauthorized access to a classified Federal Reserve operational account. Funds withdrawn, $85,000. Suspects, Arthur, father, Evelyn, mother, Liam, brother, and Oscar, brother's business partner. Immediate investigation required. I attached the access logs, transaction records, and my statement, then forwarded it to my supervisor, the Treasury Inspector General, and the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. The response was immediate. My supervisor called. Terry, are you telling me your family stole operational funds from a classified account? Sir, they accessed my account using credentials they found in a notebook. They withdrew $85,000 and distributed it among 4 people for a private real estate investment. This is a nightmare. Do they understand what they've done? They think they borrowed money from my personal savings. They don't grasp the severity. They will. Treasury IG is already coordinating with the FBI. They'll want to move fast on this. Breaches of federal banking systems are high priority. I understand, sir. You know, I'm going to have to testify against my family. I know. Can you do that? I thought about my dad's history of borrowing and my mom's enabling, and Liam's sense of entitlement. Yes, I can. 2 hours later, Liam called me, panicking. Terry, there are FBI agents here. They're talking about arrest warrants. What the hell did you do? I reported a federal crime, which is my legal obligation, I said calmly. You called the FBI on your own family. You stole from a classified federal account. What did you think would happen? We borrowed money. This is insane. In the background, I could hear an agent reading Miranda rights. Liam, stop talking. Get a lawyer. Don't say anything else. Terry, please. You have to fix this. The line went dead. The FBI had probably taken his phone. My supervisor called again. Suspects are in custody. All 4 of them. They're being transported to the FBI field office for processing. Treasury IG wants to interview you this afternoon. I'll be available. Terry, how are you holding up? I'm fine. You don't sound fine. You sound like you're in shock. Process it later. Right now, focus on securing the investigation and making sure no other operational accounts were compromised. Okay, sir. The Treasury Inspector General's interview lasted 3 hours. They wanted every detail, how the credentials were compromised, what my family knew about my work, whether I'd ever shared classified information, and whether this breach had compromised any ongoing operations. The lead investigator asked, was the Iranian cryptocurrency investigation compromised by this breach? Unknown. The account they accessed contained operational funds, but not investigative details. However, the fact that someone accessed the account could potentially alert hostile actors. So, your family's theft could have tipped off Iranian money launderers? Potentially, yes. The investigator shook his head. This gets worse the more we dig into it. I'm aware. I only discussed my work with my family in general terms. They knew I worked for the Treasury and that it involved financial analysis, but they didn't know the classification level, the specific investigations, or the nature of the accounts I managed. But they had access to your credentials. I made a mistake. I wrote down a temporary password during a security troubleshooting session at Christmas and forgot to destroy the page. My father found it 6 months later and used it to steal $85,000. From a classified federal account tied to counter-terrorism financing investigations? Yes. Did it occur to your family that stealing from a Treasury official might be a bad idea? Apparently not. They saw it as borrowing from a family member's personal savings because I couldn't tell them the truth about my work due to security protocols. The investigator leaned back. So, their ignorance is partly due to your inability to explain what you do? Their ignorance is due to their assumption that my work is unimportant and my money is available for their use. I told them I worked for the Treasury and not to access my financial information, but they ignored both warnings. By evening, the charges were filed. Arthur, Evelyn, Liam, and Oscar were each charged with unauthorized access to federal computer systems, theft of government property, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit the above offenses. Each charge carried a potential prison sentence ranging from 5 to 20 years. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Extended family, friends, and my parents' neighbors all wanted to know why I'd turned in my family to the FBI. I stopped answering and focused on my work. The Iranian investigation continued. We secured new operational accounts, enhanced security protocols, and traced the stolen $85,000 through Liam's real estate deal. It turned out to be a questionable investment in a property involved in a separate mortgage fraud scheme. Your brother really knows how to pick winners, my supervisor said dryly as we reviewed the report. Of course he does, I replied. 3 days after the arrests, my uncle, a retired Navy admiral named Henry, called me. Terry, I need you to understand something. Your parents are facing federal prison. Liam is looking at 20 years. Oscar's family is destroyed. All because of you. All because they committed federal crimes, I corrected. They made a mistake. They didn't understand. They understood I worked for the Treasury. They understood they were accessing my financial accounts without permission. They understood they were taking money that wasn't theirs. What they didn't understand was the scale, but ignorance doesn't eliminate the crime. Terry, they're your family. This makes it worse. They exploited family access to commit federal crimes. They betrayed my trust and compromised national security investigations. They did all this for a real estate investment. Can you really testify against them in court? Help send your parents to prison? Yes, I can, I said without hesitation. There was a long silence. You've changed, Terry. You used to care about family. I care about the law, national security, and the responsibilities I accepted when I took